Hey guys, so today we're going to be looking at episode 3 of the Ultimate AD Carry Guide, and we're going to be looking at defensive items and what you should be buying and when you should be buying them on AD carries. Defensive items are actually really important to how much damage you can output in a team fight, and most of the time you're going to be wanting 3 damage items and then a defensive item. Most of the time on a standard AD carry it's going to be like Infinity Edge, Phantom Dancer or Shiv, and a Bloodthirster. That's going to give you your IE, your Infinity Edge, then some crit chance and some lifesteal, which gives you good damage, and we're moving away from the tank meta right now, so a Last Whisper isn't really needed as early. The thing we're going to be trying to balance, or the hard thing, the thing to think about I guess, is that if you have no offensive items you're going to do no damage, right? But all the offensive items in the world won't help you if you're dead. This is like the fine line that we have to think about. Like ideally we want enough damage to kill people and then some defense to stop us dying. It's like when you're cooking bacon, right? You want it to be crispy, like good bacon has got to be crispy, but you don't want it to be burnt, and this is that fine line where you leave it a little bit too long and it's going to burn. So there you go, playing AD carry is a lot like cooking. So anyway, I'm not going to be going through every single item because that's just going to take forever, but I'm going to be going through the most common ones, the ones that you're going to use in 99% of your games. First up is going to be Banshees. Now Banshees is good for blocking one big spell, either that's going to be damage or crowd control, and it's great versus hard engage. Things like the Leona ultimate for example, or a Vi ultimate, like they can't use them on you if you have your Banshee's shield there, so it's really good for stopping that kind of stuff. It is just good in general against magic damage because of the magic resist, and especially against poke as well. Like not only are you going to reduce the damage, but you'll also block one of the poke spells with your shield as well. So that is the first one. Banshee's really good against actually blocking damage and like avoiding it, so I guess like an Annie or a LeBlanc, it kind of dodges those spells, which is really good. Second one is going to be a QSS, a Quicksilver Sash, or the Mercurial Scimitar that you upgrade it into later. So when you upgrade it to the Scimitar, it gives you AD in addition to the magic resist, which means it's kind of like an offensive defensive item in a way. The reason you actually buy it though is because of the cleanse. Now unlike the summoner spell cleanse, this actually removes all debuffs, including things like Zed ult, Vlad ult, Warwick ult, Mao's ult. Like it's going to remove all of them, even suppressions, which cleanse actually doesn't the summoner spell. So this is really good at removing some crowd control that is going to lead to follow up, and that is the big thing. Like it removes the crowd control and then means it puts you out of danger. The things it's really not good at are like crowd control that has damage with it, so things like an Annie ultimate, like when she uses her Tibbers it will remove the stun, sure, but you're still going to have all that damage taken, and it doesn't really do anything to help with that. It's also not good at crowd control that is going to lead to something else. So for example like a Syndra, right? You could actually just cleanse her stun, her E, but she's going to follow that up with a Q and ultimate before you can really do anything, so it's not actually going to dodge the follow-up damage. Now the third most common one is going to be a Guardian Angel, and this is like your last resort, okay? The stats aren't great on it, so you're buying it for the revive. The way you kind of want to think about it is if a Banshees isn't going to save you, if a QSS isn't going to save you, then Guardian Angel it is. A good example is against a Zed. If he's so fed that he doesn't need his ultimate pop, like the second thing, to actually kill you, then GA is going to be better because QSS isn't going to save you anyway. It does have a good mix of armor and magic resist, so it's kind of good against AD and AP, even if it isn't a lot, and it's also really good against burst champions that have kind of semi-long cooldowns. So the idea is that they will kill you with their first round of spells, and it's just going to happen regardless of what you do or what you build, but by the time you revive they aren't going to have those cooldowns to kill you again, and that's when you can turn around. So if we move on to kind of lesser known defensive items I guess, or other alternatives, the first one we're going to have is the Hex Drinker, or eventually your Maw. So this is very similar to Banshees actually, and it's underrated really against burst champions because it lets you continue to fight. This is basically saying I'm not going to run away, I'm going to fight you and I'm going to kill you before you kill me, rather than with the Banshees I'm going to block your first spell or a lot of damage and kind of avoid the damage that way. This is really good against champions that have a really easy time of popping your Banshee shield, because really if your Banshee shield is down it's not really doing much for you, and it also catches people by surprise when you're fighting them. The people I get this against really are things like LeBlanc and Ari. Like these champions are squishy, they're very easy to kill and they only take a few hits to kill, but they have a huge amount of burst damage, so you're just going to kill them before they manage to get their full burst off. So those are the kind of pure defensive items I think. Okay, Hex Drinker is kind of in the middle, but now we're going into more offensive really, and the first one is going to be Lifesteal, so either Blade the Ruined King or Bloodthirster. The lifesteal you get, especially from Bloodthirster, will mean you heal back some of the damage done to you instead of blocking it. Now this isn't very good against burst because you need to survive the damage to heal it back up, but it's really good against constant damage and bruises because even though you're not going to negate any damage, you'll heal back up to full after the damage has been done. The other alternative, and this is like the dream for AD carries, is to get a 6th offensive item, and if you have pretty high range, you're safe, you're you're not really being focused, then you can offer more damage instead of defense. Now, I almost always get a Phantom Dancer if I'm going to do this, maybe a Triforce on a few champions that can use Machine procs like Draven, but that's pretty rare honestly. So the good side of it is you get double Phantom Dancer, you get 90% crit, you get crazy attack speed, and you're going to melt tanks, and you're going to melt squishy champions in just a few hits. What about the bad side? Well, by the time you get here, this is super late game, right? That means one lost team fight, one bad position could just lose you the game, and even if no one has focused you so far, it only takes one fight for them to catch you and it could be over. So if you're going to do this, you really need to think about it and you need to be careful, because I have lost games doing this before, so make sure there isn't a threat that could possibly kill you, or at least play around it and avoid it. So the final thing I want to talk about is selling your boots, and you are slower and it's harder to kite, so if you're chasing people when you're fighting, it's probably not the best idea, but if they're coming to you, then you will do more damage and it will be better. If you're going to do this, you really do need some sort of defensive item in there, because you're going to be easier to get onto, like you're slower and you're kind of a sitting duck. The ideal case, I guess, is going to be Infinity Edge, Phantom Dancer, Bloodthirster, Last Whisper, another Phantom Dancer, and then selling your boots for a Guardian Angel. At this point, you're going to be relying on killing people quicker than they can kill you. Like, you're not going to be kiting, you're not going to be running away, you're just going to be standing there and dealing a huge amount of damage. I know someone's going to ask me about Zephyr and what I think of it, and honestly, it's not very good unless you're playing someone like Vayne, who heavily relies on attack speed. Like, it's not really going to give you the move speed that you need to kite without boots, so defense is just going to be better. Like, Guardian Angel will let you stand there and dish out a huge amount of damage without having to worry about it. I'm just going to give you a couple of examples of what you would actually build against different champions and why, so hopefully you get a grasp of it. So versus Annie, you'd get a Banshees or a Guardian Angel. Like, Banshees can block her flash ultimate, which means it's very hard to get onto you, and she will almost never be able to stun you. If they have some other way of popping your Banshees though, like a long range poke for example, then Guardian Angel will eat her burst and revive you when she doesn't have as much damage. QSS is really useless here because the damage will kill you even if you're going to cleanse a stun. Finally, someone like Syndra. Okay, Syndra has a very easy time of blocking your Banshees because she can just use her low cooldown Q to block it, and so Guardian Angel is going to be a lot better versus her. Guardian Angel is going to eat her ultimate cooldown, and then when you revive, she won't really have any other spells to really kill you before you kill her, and that's why you're going to be focusing on the Guardian Angel in that matchup. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys found it useful. Let me know what you think in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in my next video.